is Mindy. Welcome to our Gentle Flow Yoga class about the impact of community. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to start out just lying back, finding a nice comfortable supine position. And if we'd like, as we lay here, we have the option to close our eyes. And as we lie on our backs, let's focus on our breathing. Placing one hand on our stomach and one hand on our chest, let's begin alternating our breathing. So first, a deep breath into our bellies, feeling that one hand raise and lower as we inhale and exhale. And next, a deep breath into our chest, maybe feeling our shoulders move with this breath. At our own pace, let's alternate breathing into our bellies and our chests, and notice the different sensations that accompany each. Does one maybe feel better than the other? How do the other parts of our body feel with each breath? Let's if we can slow down our breath some. Keeping the inhales and exhales equal, let's try to draw them out and notice if that has any effect. Let's now switch to breathing normally, letting the air fill our bellies, then expand upward into our chest, and reversing the direction as we exhale, relaxing first our chest, then our bellies. How does the feeling of this breath differ from our alternating? Do we feel like we can breathe more deeply than when we first laid down on the mat? Our first pose today is going to be a supine spinal twist. So we're going to start by bringing our right foot somewhere outside of our left leg, twisting our legs up a little. And we're going to reach up with our left hand and place it on our knee and just gently guide that knee down toward the left side of our mat. Maybe rolling up onto our left hip to aid in that movement. We want to stop when we feel a gentle twist in our spine and maybe a slight stretch around our hip. As we hold this pose, I'm going to talk a bit. Yoga builds on the idea that we do not exist in a bubble. The things we do in our lives, the beliefs we hold, the way we interact with the world, all of it impacts the people around us. And the things they do affect us. And because we are so beautifully interconnected, we have a duty to act with kindness and love, compassion and understanding, because the way we act spreads out to others. We can go ahead and rock back up and untwist our legs. And we'll do the same thing, other side. So bringing our left foot outside of our right leg, reaching up with the right hand, gently guiding that knee down toward the right side this time. In yoga philosophy, the guiding principle is nonviolence, or loving kindness. With everything that we do, we have to ask, is this kind? Does this cause harm? And that can be our thoughts, the things we say, the things we do, all of it. Because when we do something that causes harm, when we do something that is unkind, we have to think about who is impacted by that. Sometimes the only person affected is ourselves. Sometimes it's others. Both are equally important and deserving of kindness. And we can again go ahead, rock back up and untwist our legs. Our next pose is going to be a reclined tree. So we're going to start by reaching our right arm up overhead, laying it on the ground above us. And we're going to bring our left foot somewhere inside of our right leg, maybe around our knee. Just opening up the left hip here, getting a nice gentle hip opening stretch. Let's give ourselves a second to think of a time when someone helped us when we were in need of help. What did they do? How did it help? What is it about that memory that stuck with us so that we remember it now? Even if we were to try, it's impossible for us to live completely independently. We are as much our own person as we are a result of the people we've met in our lives. For better or for worse, we carry bits of the people we've known, and they carry bits of us, too. We can go ahead, lower our arm, lower our leg. We'll do the same thing again, other side. Left arm going up, right foot coming inside of our left leg, opening up the right hip. An analogy I love is cooking. Cooking is something that's hard to learn alone. So when we cook, we carry with us all the people and things we learn from. When I get homesick, I make my mom's favorite comfort food. It's one she made for me growing up. And her mom made it for her, and her mom got the recipe from a neighbor who got it from someone else. The reality is that even when we stand in our kitchen alone, we are only alone in the physical sense. And cooking is also a great example of something seemingly innocuous and everyday that we might not think of as having a lasting impact. But we are so connected, even the smallest of things carry weight. When my mom's mother's neighbor gave my grandmother that recipe, she probably didn't think that 80 years later, a college student would be cooking it in her apartment because, to her, the dish is synonymous with home. And go ahead, lower our arm, lower our leg. We're gonna bend our knees and place our feet about hip-width apart on the mat. And we're gonna do some alternating knees to chest. So as we inhale, we'll bring in first the left leg toward our chest. And as we exhale, we'll lower that foot back down to the mat. Next inhale, bring in the right leg. And again, exhaling it down. And we'll keep going with this flow, staying in tune with our breath. The ties we have with each other are inescapable, which leaves us with a duty to do right by one another, recognizing all the ways in which we are connected. When we exist collectively, we make a community. And communities can exist at any level. They can be as small as our families, our friend groups, or they can be as large as a nation. As we get ready to start our class here, I want us to draw our attention to the present and think of this room as a community. As we practice, let's think about how we interact with those around us. Do we compare our poses to theirs? Do we place judgment on which pose variation we choose? Do we notice and enjoy the way we move in sync or in tandem as each of us flows with our breath? How do we feel about getting to spend this time with others who also made the decision to be here today? And how do we fit into all of this? Loving kindness radiates outward. So before we can pay attention to the group, we have to take care of ourselves. So let's listen to our bodies, notice how we are feeling, and adjust to the pose most comfortable to us as we go through. We can relax both of our feet to the mat. We're going to bring our feet in toward the base of our spine, keeping them about hip-width apart. We want to try to stack our ankles under our knees. We're going to come into a bridge flow here. So as we inhale, we're going to squeeze our glutes and lift our hips up toward the ceiling. And as we exhale, we'll lower them back down. And we'll keep going, inhaling, lifting our hips up. And exhaling, controlling that movement, lowering down. We'll do up to 3 more breaths here. When we finished our 3, we can lower our hips to the mat. We're going to come up to a comfortable seated position, sitting crisscross applesauce on our mats. We're going to do some seated cat-cows. So as we inhale, we're going to roll our shoulders back and lift our hearts and our chins up toward the ceiling, coming into our seated cow. And as we exhale, we're going to round forward, bring our chin in toward our chest to cat. And again, inhaling, lifting up, making sure not to pinch any nerves in the back of our neck. And exhaling, rounding forward into this little ball of cat. And we'll again keep going here, staying in tune with our breath. We can close our eyes if it lets us focus on the feeling better as we warm up our spines and our necks. Take up to 1 more full breath here. in a neutral position, and we're going to swing our legs around to find child's pose on our mats. Ooh, that was terrifying. We're going to bring one leg to each side of where our torso is going to fall. We're going to bring our toes together in the back, and then we'll sit back toward our heels and reach our arms out long in front of us. We'll take a breath here, if we'd like, letting the head be heavy, resting our foreheads on the mat. On our next inhale, we're going to walk ourselves forward on our hands to find our puppy pose. It's about halfway between child's pose and down dog. So we'll keep our forearms and our wrists on the mat, and we want to try to stack our hips above our knees here. And we'll just take a breath here. And then we'll again press back to our child's pose. Next inhale, we're going to shift forward to a plank from our knees. So shifting forward, we want to try and stack our shoulders above our wrists here, bracing our core like we're bracing for a punch, or imagining pulling our belly button in toward our spine. Just want to make sure that we don't let our hips sink too low or reach too high. We're going to start a gentle flow. So as we exhale, we'll press back to child's pose. And as we inhale, we'll come forward and find our plank. We'll keep going, exhaling and pressing back. Inhaling, coming forward. Take up to one more full breath here. And then we'll meet in our low plank. And we're going to curl our toes under and send our hips up and back to find our down dog. So for down dog, placing our hands about shoulder width apart, our feet about hip width apart. We can keep our heels up, they can be down. We just want to make sure we have a bend in our knees. I'll give us another breath or so here to adjust the pose, get comfortable. And then we'll lower ourselves back down to child's pose. We're going to start our sun salves for today. So our sun salves are meant to be like a one breath, one movement. And we're going to start here in our child's pose. Then on our next exhale, we're going to swing our legs around to find a seated forward fold. A little awkward, but we're going to bring them out in front, and we'll hinge at the hip, leaning forward until we feel a gentle stretch. Then as we inhale, we're going to sweep our arms all the way up, reaching up toward the ceiling, sitting up tall. And we'll exhale, pressing our palms together. Bring them into heart center. And again, inhaling, sweeping our hands up, and hinging at the hips, coming back down to our forward fold. Next inhale, we'll lift ourselves up halfway, supporting our hands on our shins or on the mat to a half lift. And again, exhaling down to forward fold. On our next inhale, we're again going to swing our legs back around to child's pose. And we'll exhale, pressing back. We'll inhale forward to a plank from our knees. And as we exhale, we're going to bend our elbows no more than halfway to chaturanga and release down to the mat. As we inhale, we can lift our hearts and our hands to find cobra, or we can choose our up dog. We'll exhale down, and then as we inhale, press back to child's pose. And if we're comfortable with that flow, we can stick with that one. But I'll show a standing version if we prefer that. So we'll come up to our down dog. And it'll look roughly the same as the other. So from our down dog, we're going to exhale as we walk up to a forward fold at the front of our mats. And as we inhale, we're going to sweep our hands all the way up to extended mountain. Exhaling, pressing our palms together, coming to heart center. And again, inhaling, reaching our hands up. And as we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips, bend at the knees, and swan dive down to our forward fold. Next inhale, bringing our hands to our shins or our thighs, coming up to a monkey or to half lift. And again, exhaling down. As we inhale, we'll walk our feet back to down dog. And then we'll exhale, press back into that position. Next inhale, we'll shift forward to a plank from our toes, remembering our plank safety cues. And then we'll again exhale, keeping elbows in toward their sides to chaturanga and releasing down. As we inhale, we can press into our hands and into the tops of our feet, lifting our tops of our thighs up, coming into up dog, and exhaling down. And as we inhale, we'll curl our toes under and send our hips up and back to down dog again. And if we like that one, we can stick with that, choosing whichever one feels best, or we can mix the two. So we'll keep going. We'll exhale up to our forward fold. As we inhale, we'll sweep our hands all the way up to extended mountain. Exhaling, pressing our palms together, Anjali Mudra. Inhaling, bring our arms back up. And exhaling, swan diving down to forward fold. Inhale, bring our hands to our shins or our thighs, trying to go for a nice long spine. Exhaling down. Inhaling as we step our feet back to down dog. And exhaling, pressing back. We'll inhale, shifting forward to a plank from our knees or our toes. Exhaling, keeping elbows in and lowering down. Inhaling to our back bend of choice with our cobra, making sure to use our back muscles to lift ourselves. Exhaling down. Then inhaling, curling toes under, sending the hips up and back. And once you have the poses down, you don't have to stay in tune with me. You can go with your own breath. But we'll lunge or walk up to forward fold. Inhale, up to extended mountain. Exhale, press palms together. Inhaling to our monkey or a half lift. Again, exhaling down. Stepping our feet back to down dog. Pressing into the position. Next inhale, shifting forward. As we exhale to chaturanga, gently releasing down. Inhaling to either cobra or up dog, whichever feels better. Releasing down on our exhale. Inhaling, pressing back to down dog or to child's pose. And we'll keep going. So exhaling up to forward folds. Inhaling to extended mountain. Exhaling, pressing palms together. Inhaling, sweeping our arms back up. And exhaling, swooping down. Stepping our feet back to down dog. Pressing back to the position. Inhaling and shifting forward to plank. Exhaling to chaturanga and releasing down. Inhaling to cobra or half lift or up dog. Exhaling down. Curling our toes under, sending our hips up and back. And this time we'll just lunge or walk up to our forward fold. We want to come up and we'll meet here in mountain. And if we'd like, we can grab a quick sip of water. So we're gonna meet in mountain with our feet about hip width apart. We wanna turn our toes just a little bit out. Then we're gonna bend at the knees and hinge at the hips, and we'll sit back to our chair. So we wanna press our seat back, bring our chest forward, and we'll bring our hands into heart center here. And we're gonna do a flow. So as we exhale, we'll sit back to our chair. And as we inhale, we're gonna sweep our arms up to extended mountain. Exhaling, sitting back. Inhaling, reaching up. And again, we can do this staying in tune with our breath as we do. Maybe trying to draw out our movements and our breath so we're in continuous motion as we flow. Breaths here. We're going to do another flow later that's really similar to this one. So I want us to get used to the movement. Last one. this time. We can just relax to our mountain. We're going to step our right foot back to a warrior 2 footing. So we're going to make that back foot parallel with the end of our mat. We want to stack our front knee, left knee above our front ankle. Toes pointed toward the front of the room. And we're going to bring our arms out parallel with our shoulders. Left arm forward, looking past those front fingertips. And from our warrior 2 here, we're going to do a flow. It's called the archer flow. So what we're going to do is as we inhale, bring our back hand up parallel with the front. And as we exhale, we're going to draw this back hand, our right arm, back like we're drawing back a bowstring, keeping our eyes fixed on those front fingers. And as soon as we start to inhale, we'll bring that arm back forward. And again, exhaling, we'll draw it back. And we don't have to go all the way back. We can stop as we start to inhale or before it gets uncomfortable, if any part feels uncomfortable. We'll use this move to focus on our breath. We want to try to keep our core engaged and really press down through our feet as we stay here. We want to try to isolate this movement solely to our shoulders, our arms, and see if we can make it so that no other part of our body moves as we flow. Take up to 5 more breaths. I'm going to be honest, I forgot what comes next. Cool, all right. We're going to step back up to our extended mountain as soon as we finish with our next breath. No rush. So we'll go from our warrior 2, step back up to extended mountain, reaching our arms up. We'll again hinge at the hips, bend at the knees, swan dive down to forward fold. And we'll step our feet back to down dog. And if we'd like here, we have the option to do an alternating 3-legged dog flow. So as we inhale, first lifting our right foot up only as high as comfortable to a 3-legged dog. And as we exhale, lowering it back down. Inhaling, lifting the left foot up only as high as comfortable. And again, exhaling it down. And we can keep going with that flow if we'd like. We can also just hang out in our down dog. And if we want to give our wrists a break, we can come down to our puppy pose from earlier with forearms on the ground, stacking our joints, and just extend our leg outward. Whichever one feels better. It's up to us. Take 5 to 6 more breaths here, trying to keep it even on each side. And after we finished, we're going to meet in our down dog. And then we'll walk or lunge up to forward fold. And again, come up into mountain. We're going to step our left foot back this time. And we're going to keep going with our archer flow. So finding that warrior 2 footing, left foot now parallel with the end of our mat, right toes pointing forward, right arms going out in front. And as we inhale, we'll bring the left up this time. And as we exhale, we'll pull it back. want to try to train our gaze on our front fingers as we do this. In yoga, drishti is like a focused gaze. It's kind of directing your energy and your focus to a single point to help you draw your attention in. So it can be the spot between your eyelids, or if we're in a flow like this one, it can be your front fingertips. This will be our last breath here. And from our warrior two, we're gonna turn our front foot to match our back. So both toes are gonna be pointed out. I'm gonna move over quick so you can see me better. So from this wide leg stance, we may want to heel toe in a little bit more. We're gonna bend at the knees and hinge at the hips, and we're gonna sit back to a wide leg chair. So similar to earlier, we wanna make sure our toes are pointed a little out, bring our hands into heart center, and we'll just get used to this feeling of our wide leg chair. This is gonna be the low point of our next flow. So when we exhale, we'll sit back to here. When we inhale, we're gonna sweep our arms up, making these 4 points, finding star. And then we'll exhale, we're gonna swoop our arms down, crisscrossing in the front, and inhaling back up. This is called a sunflower flow. It's like a wide leg version of the flow we did earlier. It looks really cool in the mirrors when there's a lot of people here. I also think this one's just especially floaty, you know? We'll take up to 2 more breaths. And then we can turn back to our warrior two, and then come back up into mountain at the front of our mats. If we'd like, we can grab a quick sip of water. We're gonna do some balance poses. So you may wanna step off the black mat just because like the thickness of the mat makes it a little bit harder to balance, but it's totally up to you. We're gonna start off with tree, and we're gonna use our right leg as base to start. We'll bring our hands into heart center, and then we can bring our left heel inside of our right leg. We can keep our toes on the ground if we'd like, or if we want a bit more of a challenge, we can lift our foot up, placing it alongside our calf, or up on our thigh, just making sure not to place it on our knee, because we don't want that external pressure. Just figuring out whatever feels best. If we want some arm work, we can also spread our arms out like branches. Just picking whatever feels best, and we'll hold it for up to 3 more breaths. We can relax down. The other balance pose we're going to do is power bow. So again, with our right leg as base, we're going to bend. We'll leave a little micro bend in our base leg knee. We're going to bend our left knee and reach back toward our left foot with our left hand. And we'll bring our right arm out in front. And we can have a power bow here. If we want a bit more stability, we can leave our back toes on the ground and just reach back toward them. My voice just broke. I told you it was going to. We reach back toward them and reach our arm out long. Just figure out what feels best. We don't have to grab our heel. We can just reach back toward it. If we want more of a challenge, we can hinge at the hip. We'll hold our power bow for up to 2 more breaths. And then we'll come back up. And we'll do the same 2 poses other side. So left leg base, we'll bring our right foot in alongside to find our tree. We can place our hands at heart center, or we can spread them out. You can maybe adjust. Maybe we have better stability on one side than the other. We'll figure out what feels comfortable. And once we're comfortable, we'll hold it here again up to 3 more breaths. We can relax down, and we'll do our power bow with our left leg base this time. So again, keeping that small bend in our base leg knee, we'll reach back toward our right foot this time, and reach our left arm out long in front of us. And again, if we want more work, we can hinge at the hip and lean forward, maybe increasing the bend in that base leg knee to increase our stability. for up to 2 more breaths here. And we can stand back up. If we want, we can shake out our legs a little bit in case they got a little bit stiff from holding those poses. Right. And we're going to start our cool down. You're doing great. You made it through the bulk of class. Right. We're going to continue with that chair extended mountain flow from earlier. Oh, you can totally get back on your mat. So with our feet about hip width apart, we'll keep our toes turned a little out. And as we exhale, we'll bend at the knees, hinge at the hips, sit back to our chair, bring our hands into heart center. And we'll inhale, sweep our hands up. And exhale, press palms together, sitting back. Take up to 2 more breaths here. And then from our extended mountain, we can just make 2 fists with our hands. We're going to come into camel. It's a standing back bend. So we're going to take these fists and place one to each side of where our spine is, placing them about where the top of our pants would be. I'm going to press back into our fists and roll our shoulders back and lift our hearts and our chins up toward the ceiling. We want to make sure to leave enough room behind our neck to place like a softball or a grapefruit, just to make sure that we don't pinch any nerves. We'll hold our camel here up to 2 more breaths. We can stand back up. Right. We're in a swan dive down, forward fold, so hinging at our hips, coming down, and then we'll step our feet back to find our down dog one more time. If we'd like here, we have the option to either walk the dog, or we can lift our left foot up, again only as high as comfortable, and bend it at the knee, kicking the left foot up over the right side of our body into a scorpion dog. So again, if we want to give our wrists a break, we can come down to a puppy pose and just hold one leg out. It's totally up to us. Take up to 2 more breaths here. We lower our foot down. We can switch doing the same thing other side. Right leg up. If we'd like, bending at the knee, kicking it up and over. Finding a scorpion dog on the other side. And we'll again hold it up to 2 more breaths. We can lower our foot down. And we're going to lower ourselves down to the mat, bring our legs out long in front of us. Then we're going to bend our knees, place our feet about hip width apart. And we're going to come into boat. So with our boat, we'll just lean back until we start to feel our core engage. And if we'd like, our boat can be here. If we want a bit of arm work, we can bring our arms out parallel. And if we want to make it a bit more challenging, we can also lift our feet up. So picking whichever variation feels best. Boat right here is totally fine. It's still a lot of core work. So we'll pick what feels good, and we'll hold it here up to 5 more breaths. We can relax our feet, our hands down toward the mat. We're going to bring our hands in by our sides, right about where our hip bones are going to be. We're going to place our feet about hip width apart, maybe bring them in a little bit. We're going to press into our hands and our feet, and we're going to lift up into tabletop. We may need to adjust because we want to stack our ankles underneath our knees. We'll roll our shoulders back, trying to pinch the shoulder blades together in the back, squeezing our glutes, lift our hips up. We'll hold it here, up to 5 more breaths. If we want a bit more of a challenge, we can come into an incline plank, lowering to our heels. We can lower our hips down to the mat. From here, with our legs out long, we're just going to hinge at the hips and lean forward to our seated forward fold. We can support ourselves with our hands on the mat, on our legs, behind us. Just want to make sure we have a little bit extra support for our backs as we lean forward, stopping when we feel a nice gentle stretch down the back of our legs, maybe around our hips. Take another breath or so here. Then we can come up and we're going to lie back on our mats, keeping our knees bent. We'll place our feet about hip width apart. Again, trying to bring them in toward the base of our spine. We want to resume our bridge flow from earlier. So as we inhale, we'll squeeze our glutes and lift our hips up toward the ceiling. And as we exhale, we'll gently lower them back down to the mat. Again, inhaling, lifting up. And exhaling, lowering down. If we'd like, as we do this, we have the option for marching. So as we inhale, lifting one heel. Exhaling, lowering down. Next inhale, lifting the other. And again, lowering down. If we'd like, as we do this, we can close our eyes. We've got about 2 poses left before we come to our Shavasana, or final relaxation. Take up to 3 more breaths here. It's our last work pose for the day. So if we have it in us, we can just push to get through these last couple breaths. When we finished, we can lower our hips down to the mat. We're going to come into a supine pigeon. So we'll start by placing our left ankle onto our right thigh, opening up our left hip, getting a gentle stretch here. And if we want to deepen that stretch, we can lift our right foot up, bring our legs in a little bit closer to our chest, stopping before the stretch gets uncomfortable or too intense. Hold it for another breath or so. If we'd like, we can hold our legs up with our hands. And we'll exhale, lower them down to the mat, and switch sides. So placing right ankle onto left thigh, opening up the right hip this time. And again, if we'd like to deepen that stretch, lifting the left foot up to bring our legs in closer. Take up to another breath here. We can again lower our feet down. We'll keep our feet about hip width apart, keep our knees bent. We're going to bring our arms out to a T next to us. We're going to come into some windshield wipers here. It'll be our last pose. And as we exhale, we're going to lower our knees down, first toward the left side of our mat. And when we start to inhale, we'll lift them back up to center. Exhale them down toward the right side. back up, and continuing with that motion. We'll use this pose as a little room for our breathing as we ready ourselves for Shavasana. We'll take up to 5 or 6 more breaths here. I'm going to turn off the lights. And when we're done, we can find a nice, comfortable reclined position, or really any position that feels good. As we lie here, let's bring our attention back inward, allowing ourselves a moment to focus on our breath and bring awareness to how our bodies feel. If we like, we can continue with our alternating belly and chest breathing from earlier. With our eyes still closed, if it's comfortable, let's shift our attention and see if we can notice the other people in the room with us. Do we sense them? Can we hear their breathing? Now let's see if we can sense the room itself. Can we tell where the walls are? Where we are within the room? This one might be harder, but can we sense the world outside this room? The rest of the building? The parking lot? Further? It's a lot of work and conscious effort to coexist with other people. But community, our ties to others, are not a burden. They're a joy. It's impossible for us to be solely self-sufficient. We need the people around us to hold us up when we can't. When we are sad, they bring us happiness. When someone's voice is not heard, we make room for them at the table. Our lives are hopelessly tangled together. So when we go through things, we never have to go through them alone. MLK wrote, "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly, affects all indirectly." We are in community with the people around us as much as we are in community with the people we love. We have a duty to one another to help where help must be given and to heal where things must be healed. And when we are joyous, the joy is shared too. Maya Angelou wrote, "Love costs all we are and will ever be. Yet it is only love which sets us free." Love is not easy. It is a dedication. It is a choice to put love above all else. To love and to care for ourselves, taking care of our needs, and to love and care for others, recognizing their needs as extensions of our own. And for all the love we give, knowing others are giving just as much. As we lay here, let's repeat this to ourselves. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free from pain and suffering. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free from pain and suffering. Now, let's think of someone else in our life. And with them in mind, let us repeat to ourselves, may we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free from pain and suffering. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free from pain and suffering. Let us think of the people in this room who we got to spend this hour with. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free from pain and suffering. And finally, let's think of any group we belong to, be it our siblings, a club we're in, or a whole demographic like college students, and repeat, may we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free from pain and suffering. May we be happy. May we be healthy. May we be free from pain and suffering. When we're ready, we can begin to slowly open our eyes, taking all the time we need as we come to sit upright on our mats again. Thanks for practicing with me today. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I am always available after class to talk. Otherwise, I hope you have a good rest of your Tuesday, a good rest of your week, and if I don't see you again, a good rest of your semester. Thank you.